All right, let's dive right in. We're going to be talking about one of the most important skills you can have as a safari guide, strategic route planning. Seriously, this is what takes a game drive from just good to absolutely unforgettable. It's how you create those incredible wildlife moments for your guests.
And let's be real, the main reason we're here is to get you completely ready to crush your route planning quiz. We're going to break down every single key concept from your training materials and those study notes so you can walk into that test feeling totally prepared.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with the why, the whole purpose behind planning. Then we'll get into the art of being flexible out on the trail, cover how to juggle all the different factors, and we'll wrap up with a little readiness check to make sure you've got it all down cold.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, with the foundation. You gotta remember, a truly great game drive doesn't just happen when you start the engine. Nope, it starts way before that with a really solid plan.
Now here's a question you'll see on your quiz, so listen up. Why is route planning considered such an essential skill? I mean, is it just about finding the shortest path or sticking to the road you know best? Well, the answer really gets to the core of what being a great guide is all about.
At its heart, the main purpose, and this is your key takeaway, is to maximize guest satisfaction and the chances for amazing wildlife sightings. See, it's not just about driving around, it's about designing an experience. Like your study notes say, that's the #1 goal. So, how do we actually do that? Well, it all comes down to balancing 3 crucial factors, and you're definitely going to want to remember these for the quiz. First up, drive duration. How much time are you working with? Second, guest interests. What are they dying to see? And third, wildlife likelihood. Based on everything you know, where are the animals probably hanging out? If you can nail these 3, you're on your way to creating a fantastic drive.
Okay, but here's the thing. No matter how perfectly you plan, the bush is, well, the bush. It's unpredictable. And that brings us to our next section, adapting on the fly. A great plan is your starting point, for sure, but a great guide knows that being flexible is everything. And here we go, another key question from your quiz materials. What is the best way to adjust your plan once you're already out there? Do you just stick to the original route no matter what? Of course not. It's all about making smart decisions in the moment.
Think about it like this. Your initial plan, it's a hypothesis. It's your best guess based on good intel. But the reality on the ground, a fresh lion track, a call over the radio about a leopard sighting, that's what really counts. The best guides adapt to these real-time events because that's how you maximize your guest satisfaction.
All right, let's talk through a classic scenario you might see on the quiz. You're driving along and boom, a fallen tree is blocking the road. What do? Well, there's a clear procedure. First, you assess the situation. Is there any way to get through? If not, you figure out the best alternate route. And this next part is so important. You only drive around the obstacle if it's safe for the environment and won't damage anything. And finally, you always communicate with your guest. Just let them know what's up.
And hey, speaking of communication, if a guest ever asks you why you chose a certain road, you need to burn this phrase into your memory. This is your go-to professional response. We are using this route based on recent sightings and environmental conditions. It's confident, it's informative, and it immediately builds trust. Now, of course, a great route plan isn't just about the animals. It's about weaving together all the different pieces, the environment itself, your guests' hopes and dreams, and all the nitty-gritty logistics of the drive.
This brings us to another really important topic from the quiz. The landscape out here is always changing, right? Especially with the seasons. So, how should those changes impact your planning?
It's all about shifting your priorities. In the wet season, your main concern is finding roads that are actually drivable and avoiding those muddy spots that'll swallow your vehicle. But in the dry season, the game totally changes. Now, you want to prioritize routes that take you right to the water sources because you can bet that's where all the animals are going to be.
And what if your guests have a special interest, like they're really into birding? The quiz is going to ask you about this. The key is to tailor your route specifically for them. For birders, you'd want to plan a route that takes you through a bunch of different habitats, by the river, across open plains, through thick bush, to maximize the number of different species you can spot. It's all about being proactive.
And finally, we've got logistics. This table here breaks down the why behind 2 things you'll be asked about. First, why coordinate with other guides? Well, it's to avoid having 10 vehicles crowd a leopard sighting. It gives everyone a better, more exclusive experience. And choosing a spot for sundowners, it has to hit 3 key points. It's got to have a great view, it has to be completely safe for your guests, and you have to cause as little disturbance to the wildlife as possible.
Phew, okay, we have covered a lot of ground. Now it's time to make sure all that amazing knowledge is locked in. Let's run through a quick readiness check so you know you're ready for this quiz.
So here's the bottom line. If you forget everything else, just remember these 3 things. 1, your purpose is always about the guest experience. 2, flexibility is your absolute superpower out there. And 3, clear communication is everything. These ideas are the foundation for pretty much every correct answer on that quiz.
Okay, first self-check question. Go ahead and pause here for a second and see if you can name those 3 main planning factors we talked about. Got them? They are drive duration, guest interests, and wildlife likelihood.
All right, next up. Why is it so critical to coordinate with the other guides out on a drive? Remember the 2 big reasons? It's to avoid crowding at sightings and to make sure your guests get a diverse, special-feeling experience.
And for our last check-in, what's that key phrase, that professional line you should use when a guest asks you about the route you're taking? You got it right? It's, "We are using this route based on recent sightings and environmental conditions." Perfect.
You've been through all the material, you get the principles, and you know the key answers. You are absolutely ready for this. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Now go ace that quiz.